Hey, everybody. I'm reading a book that was written 32 years ago. It's a secular book. I don't read a lot of secular books, but I wanted to read this book. This book was written by a man at the time that he wrote this book. He was about 40 years old. And everybody practically in the world knows who this man is. And I found a little nugget in this book that I found fascinating. This was written in 1987, the book was. The incident that I want to read, this paragraph in the book, actually happened in 1982. That man's name is Donald Trump. He's the president, as we know him today. The book that I'm reading is The Art of the Deal, which is a book he wrote in 1987. Some of you may already know this, and if you do, that's fine. Keep scrolling. Don't worry about listening to it if you don't want to. But I found this fascinating, and I found this to just, when I read this, I thought, Lord, if people cannot see your hand upon this man, I know there's a lot of people that really can't. They really do not see that God's hand is absolutely on him, and he has anointed him for this job, for this season, for such a time as this. But reading this chapter in this book just put another nail in the foundation for me, that I just know this was the hand of God. This is like providence. So this is what I want to read you. This is the chapter of A Week in the Life, where he talks about some of the deals that he makes throughout the week, and just he actually lays it out, what he does every hour of the day. He puts down what he did starting at 9 a.m. and on through the end of his day at whatever time it was that he ended his day. This happened at 2:00 p.m. The contractor who's building my pool at Mar-a-Lago is on the phone. I'm busy, but I take the call anyway. We're going to great lengths to build a pool in keeping with the original design of the house, and I want to make sure every detail is right. Buying Mar-a-Lago was a great deal, even though I bought it to live in, not as a real estate investment. Mar-a-Lago was built in the early 1920s by Marjorie Merriweather Post, the heiress to the Post Foundation, the Post cereal fortune, and at the time, Mrs. E. F. Hutton, Edward F. Hutton. Set on 20 acres that face both the Atlantic Ocean and Lake Worth, the house took 4 years to build and has 118 rooms. 3 boatloads of Dorian stone were brought from Italy for the exterior walls, and 36,000 Spanish tiles dating back to the 15th century were used on the exterior and the interior. When Mrs. Post died, this is what I want you to hear. Here's the nugget. When Mrs. Post died, she gave the house to the federal government to be used, or for use, as a presidential retreat. Let me say that again. When Mrs. Post died, she gave the house to the federal government for use as a presidential retreat. The government eventually gave the house back to the Post Foundation, and the foundation put it up for sale at an asking price of $25 million. I first looked at Mar-a-Lago while vacationing in Palm Beach in 1982. Almost immediately, I put in a bid of $15 million. That's $10 million below their asking price. And it was promptly rejected. Over the next few years, the foundation signed contracts with several other buyers at higher prices than I'd offered, only to have them fall through before closing. Each time that happened, I put in another bid, but always at a lower sum than before. Finally, in late 1985, I put in a cash offer of $5 million, plus another $3 million for the furnishings in the house. Apparently, the foundation was tired of broken deals. They accepted my offer, and we closed 1 month later. The day the deal was announced, the Palm Beach Daily News ran a huge front page story with the headlines, Mar-a-Lago's bargain price rocks community. Soon, several far more modest estates on property a fraction of Mar-a-Lago's size sold for prices in excess of $18 million. I've been told that the furnishings in Mar-a-Lago alone are worth more than I paid for the house. It just goes to show that it pays to move quickly and decisively when the time is right. Upkeep of Mar-a-Lago, of course, isn't cheap. For what it costs each year, you could buy a beautiful home almost anywhere else in America. All of which is a long way of explaining why I take this call from the pool contractor. He has a small question about the matching of the Dorian stone we're using for the decking, and I care about every detail when it comes to Mar-a-Lago. The call takes 2 minutes, but it will probably save 2 days of work and ensure that the job doesn't have to be ripped out and done over later. Mrs. Post left the house to the federal government to be used as a presidential retreat, but they didn't want it. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. They probably didn't even want to have to deal with the upkeep of it. So they gave it back to the Post Foundation. And 5 years later, President Trump, then real estate investor John Trump, bought the property $20 million less than what they had originally asked. And actually, it just left me thinking, wow, God, you ensured that it became a presidential retreat. Mrs. Meriwether Post got her wish. Well, I just wanted to read that to you to see if anybody else found that to be as fascinating as I did. And it's one of those little, to me it's a thumbprint of God. It's like, yep, that's me. Yep, I'm working. This is my president. This is who I've chosen. He's chosen for such a time as this. Well, I'm going to get off here now. Just wanted to let you hear that little paragraph, that nugget, and God is great. He's amazing. Talk to you guys later.